Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 8. It's called A Matter of Honor. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, this one is a bit of an exchange program between various Starfleet ships. Not one for one swaps, it's just kind of like one goes to another ship.
Just go and visit and see how it goes.
Because the Enterprise gets a Benzite. What was his name here? Mendon, Ensign Mendon. He comes aboard. Wesley's very racist and can't tell the difference between him and the other Benzite that he met back in his academy
Pretty
visit.
much. He's like, how do you tell each other apart? And it's just like, we just do.
Yeah. Admittedly, I think the episode is telling us that no, they are literally identical looking, so it is difficult. But it came off as a really weird scene, and I don't know what they were trying to do with it, but it was a really weird scene. But the main plot of the episode is that Riker volunteers to go to a Klingon ship and becomes the first officer in a temporary basis on a Klingon ship, the Pach. If I'm saying that correctly.
Probably not, but
it was in the ballpark. It was
was an effort.
It was P-A-G-H, but they had more of a harsh sound at the end. It wasn't just
very guttural Klingon, isn't it?
I bet people who speak Hebrew would do great with Klingon.
Probably.
Hebrew's got a very.
I think to be honest, I think you have a bit of an advantage, as a Scot, with the because you have like a lot of harsh vowels at the end of words, especially when you have like CHs. I feel like that kind of fits into that same kind of guttural sound that this has here.
It's in the ballpark. It's not quite the same. It's just
not the same, but it's closer than what some people would get.
Pah. Pah. Never mind. Anyway,
that wasn't it.
So that is the gist of this episode. So I'll ask the question, Connor, did you enjoy Matter of Honor?
Very much, actually.
No, this is maybe the best episode we've had so far. It's it not just because it's dealing with Klingons, although that definitely was exciting because it's like, hey, Klingons, we're doing some Klingon stuff. But it gave us an interesting premise because obviously as soon as Riker's on the Klingon ship, you know that eventually the Klingon ship and the Enterprise are going to be in some kind of conflict or some kind of standoff, and it's going to put Riker in this difficult position because he takes an oath to be honourable to the captain of the Klingon ship, but of course he's also bound by his honour to the Enterprise and Starfleet. So it's obviously going to put him in that position, but it's a chance to learn a bit more about Klingons, learn a bit more about humans. Not that we need to do that necessarily, but the Klingons learn a bit more about humans is what I mean. And the Benzite, of course, also has a bit that feeds into the main plot as well, which again kind of teaches a bit more about how Benzites work and how they function. So a bit more mythology in that sense. So no, it was a solid episode. But most importantly, the second officer, the second Klingon, because obviously there's the captain, there's the first officer, which Riker kind of becomes, and there's the second officer who, when Riker first boards the ship, he kind of confronts him a little bit, and Riker, realizing that he has to show us, some force,
strength,
show some strength, to be taken seriously on the Klingon ship because of how they operate, how they think, how they respect each other. Riker tackles him and has a bit of a fight with him to assert his dominance, as you do. That Klingon, that second officer, is played by Brian Thompson, who you may know from two different characters on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was, of course, Luke in the first two episodes. That's Welcome to Hellmouth and The Harvest. He was also the judge in Innocence in season 2. Also notably, he was one of the punks in the first Terminator that Arnold took his clothes from. So Brian Thompson.
As soon as you said that Klingon, I went, oh, God's sake, I know where this is going. You didn't even say, anything about the actor yet. You just said that Klingon, and it was the inflection in your voice. I knew exactly what bullshit you were about to spiel into.
And you know the great thing about it is that I didn't know it was him, and I just saw his face. It was when he started talking. It was the mouth. When his mouth started moving, I was like, "Oh, that's Brian Thompson. I can spot him well off."
You sad bastard.
Especially since those two Buffy roles, he had makeup on, but his mouth was still obviously moving,
usable.
Yes. So now there you go. So this is an important episode for that reason. This is the second, I believe, Buffy actor we've had on the show. Of course, we had Principal Snyder, Armin Shimmerman, in season 1.
Yeah.
He played one of the Ferengi, of course. So, bit of a trend going here. Bit of a trend. I'm sure it won't be the last time.
You're looking far too smug. I don't like it.
Because sometimes they just hammer the Buffy reference on a platter, and I'm just like, yeah, easy.
Do you have to make it the very first point though? Like, could you not have waited till we naturally got to that? You just you sped through everything you did then just to get to that point. You did the bare minimum of what you had to so that you could say that, didn't you?
Well, let's go back then. Let's go back to the start of the episode and set things up. So we mentioned the scene with Wesley, the Benzite arriving, him taking duty, but Riker and Picard are doing some holodeck video game stuff. They're
having a little bit of a competition.
Yes.
Visually quite interesting. They're on this circle split in half, like a yellow side and a blue side, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is an interesting looking setup.
What was funny about this is that, like, I feel this is something that would actually be better now, just in the sense that I feel like these, Jean, like, Patrick Stewart's the phrase I'm looking for, the name I'm looking for. I was trying to, I kept almost saying Jean-Luc again, like 3 times. No, I'm trying to say Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart, especially, being in his 40s, in this late 80s time of making this episode, I have to imagine he probably never touched a video game in his life. I feel like if you did this today, just because the people in it would have a better understanding of video games, it might feel a bit more natural. Even if it's still a fake setup in terms of, it's like not a thing we have.
To me, this didn't actually feel as video gamey as what you're suggesting. Maybe that is just they did a really piss poor job of it. But to me, this felt more like they were playing like a game of squash, or but combined with clay pigeon shooting.
No, I get why you're saying that, but I think that's what made it feel weird to me is the body language, the way that Picard was casually talking about what's going on in the ship as they're in between shots. It felt it's almost like the dialogue here was in a modern day setting would be like 2 people talking over voice chat as they're playing a game, because you can do that when you're playing a video game.
You can, but again, I don't think
you can't do that during squash. The ball's coming back too often for that.
All right, fine. All right, well, I'll go back to the clay pigeon shooting.
Okay.
You have a little bit of a chat every time you take your shot, and then you chat. You're reloading, you're bantering. Next shot. This is a little bit more fast paced than that. Don't get me wrong, but I think the kind of the
this was more Space Invaders. Come on, this was a video game.
Only by circumstance.
What do you mean, only by circumstance? Almost everything you could describe as an activity, as soon as you put it into digital graphics and you're playing it that way, it is a video game. It's not like if they were playing FIFA, you'd sit and go, no, this is just like football. This isn't a video game. They're playing football. No.
But my point here is they literally have phasers. They are there shooting at things flying past them. It's we've seen how often in the holodeck these things are real enough. This was less video game and more just simulation of a shooting range.
Sure.
It's only a video game in the sense that it was digital.
It's still a video game. Come on now.
I don't know.
They're clearly doing this. I mean, sure, maybe a practice as well, but just because it's a video game doesn't mean that can't offer that. It's not like, because you just tell us something like Wii Sports, like that that's barely a video game, but it's still a video game. Because all that's doing is simulating the thing.
No, it is. But this is a lot. This is so real as simulating the thing that I think it transcends beyond just, okay, this is a video game. There's nothing to it beyond just the simulation. And again, it's different to the simulation of something like FIFA, where there's still a separate control input. This is doing the same physical action.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. When you watch this scene, did this feel like something they have to do, or something they're doing socially?
Socially, but that's the same as being my whole thing with the at the shooting range. It's a social thing.
Well, yeah, but I'm not sure what your point is there, though. The shooting's still a game. This is a game being played with graphics, therefore it is a video game.
No, it is. I agree in technicality.
Pong's a video game, and all Pong is just simple, basic tennis.
No, in technicality, yes. In the way that they're treating it in the scene, I don't think they're treating it as a gaming session. You know, like you're going, oh, you know, this feels weirdly written because it was, you know, at the time these people have probably not played a lot of games. To me, I don't think that's what they were going.
That's not what I said, but whatever.
Sure, I don't think that was what the feeling it was meant to be evoking.
It was body language. It was watching Jean-Luc Picard like sort of like duck and dive and take his shots. That's what was feeling weird to me. It wasn't the way it was. I mean, I guess that's part of the writing as well, but it was more the body language and how it was performed. It felt awkward. It felt like these two people who are still in their uniform are like getting into it. Essentially, they're really treating it like they're, you know. It felt more like they're, I don't know, playing a light gun game or something like that. Like that's what it felt like. But it was Patrick Stewart doing it, so it felt a little bit silly.
Nothing Patrick Stewart does ever feel silly, and that's just a fact.
No, this feels silly, and this is why I go back to my original point. For some reason, you wanted to fight me on is that I feel like if this was a 40-year-old who's a 40-year-old now, more than likely it would play off a bit more naturally. I get the feeling that Patrick Stewart, at least at this point, had probably not played many video games, or. I mean, even someone who had played video games in the late 80s, I mean, that's just so far ahead of what existed in the 80s.
It was borderline inconceivable to actually be able to play anything like that at home.
Yeah, so maybe anyone would have felt as awkward at the time period, but I feel like I feel like now either it would feel better or the people on set would realise this feels stupid, let's do it a different way.
Yeah. The only thing I would say in argument to this at this point, you know, before I finish it off, is having seen more than enough people using VR and getting way too into it and kind of falling over themselves because they're kind of caught up in what's around them that is not real. I don't know. This didn't play that weird for me.
But that almost goes back in favour of your original point, where they're not supposed to be phased by this. This is everyday normalcy for them. So they're not tripping over themselves. They shouldn't be. This is.
I don't feel like he's tripping over himself, you know, to that extent. I'm just saying he's into it as
an your phrase. I'm using the phrase you brought to the table.
Oh, yes. No, I think that's what VR people have done, right? You know, is they get really into it and then extended that a little bit.
VR but people. These VR people activity. Walking around.
Yeah, VR people. They're a species unto themselves.
Oh dear.
We spent so long on this, and it's actually a good episode.
That's a great episode. I'm just. All I'm saying is that the visual of them two standing there, sort of ducking and dodging and firing their phasers, but having this casual conversation in between, just felt a little bit weird. That's all I'm saying. Just a little bit weird. Like it felt like they were trying to show off how advanced the holodeck was, but in doing so, it felt a little bit goofy.
Okay.
You know. So that's all I'm saying. Anyway, of course, Picard says, "Oh, she gets someone on a Klingon ship," and Riker's all too quick to go, "Oh, I'd volunteer for that assignment, sir. I'll do it."
At first, when this comes up, it feels like Picard's already picked him.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "We just need someone to volunteer." And it's just like, "How about you, Riker?" You know, it feels like it's going to go down that path, and then Riker just jumps right in. It's like, "Hey, I want."
But he never does. He never actually suggests Riker. Riker hops in
jumps
first.
In first. Yeah, he does. But it feels like Picard almost thinks it's kind of he's getting one over on him, like, I'm going to throw him in on this, and he can't turn it down. And then Riker just ruins all his fun.
I don't know if I agree with that. If Picard thinks he's playing him, then he's played him to a T, and it's worked perfectly. He's succeeded. Riker's not ruined anything. Riker's just played into his hand even better than he could have ever imagined.
No. In the sense that Picard thinks Riker's going to hate this, and I'm going to suggest it, and it's going to be an obligation that he has to do it. Where
I don't think he ever thought he was going to hate it. I think this felt more to me like he's trying to prod him into it, but not in a way that he's always going to hate doing this. I never got that impression.
Oh no, in the sense that like when you would do with your friends, like I'm gonna make them go and do something that they're not going to enjoy that much, but it's going to be funny. That's almost the feeling I got from him here.
Nah, I never quite got that, but I mean, whatever. So Riker goes to Worf and basically tries to get some advice, and Worf informs him of how some of the hierarchy works and how if the captain's seen as weak, then the first officer's duty is to kill the captain. Second officer likewise for the first officer. Obviously, Riker's a little bit taken aback by this. He's like, well, that's a bit dangerous. He's like, hey, it's worked for hundreds of years. We've been thriving. So, you know, that's what it is. He also later on gives him like a little homing beacon, just in case something goes wrong. So it's a security precaution. Little Chekhov's beacon, as it were.
This whole conversation is just Chekhov's conversation, isn't it? Like, all of this stuff with, hey, if, should there be, show a strength, you might have to take out the captain and take out, and take their place. All of this just feels like, okay, we're doing some variation of this later in the episode.
Oh, sure. He also tries to get used to some Klingon food. There's a whole scene where he's sitting there and what's her face? Dr. Pulaski. I had to think of what her name was there. Pulaski's there. Picard comes in at one point as well. And he's sitting there eating all these disgusting looking Klingon food.
So much as well. And it just when you think, it's a pretty full table. Waiter comes over, like 6 more plates, and Rag's like, bring them on.
Yeah, I want no part of this, especially later on when he gets the living version of whatever it was, the snaily looking one. What is it with Riker having to eat snails and maggots and shit? Like, he had to do this in
There's
season
more
one.
worms in this one. Clearly, Frakes has no problem putting some wriggling worms in his mouth.
Oh, I want no part of it. But yeah, so it gets all ready. And again, we got another little O'Brien moment in this episode. Like, not a ton, but like he has a few lines when Riker gets into the.
Not as much as last time, but enough to establish him as a recurring character now with dialogue rather than just a background figure.
To the point where I feel like I'm expecting him now to be in the transport room almost every time they go in. Like, just these 2 episodes have made it feel like he's the one who should be in there now.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's like, you're not scared? He's like, no. I was like, I'd be scared. Off you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like we said, he gets into a fight with the second officer to prove his strength, and then we have this scene at the dinner table where he's munching away in the food, but he won't eat the one last thing that's alive, and they kind of question his bravery. He's like, well, if that's too strong for you, I'm sure some of the females here would be willing to breastfeed you. And they all kind of laugh, and it's kind of this bonding moment where Riker kind of like laughs along with them at one point, especially when he corrects a joke, because Brian Thompson from Buffy, I don't know what his name was in this, second officer something, he's like, oh, so some of the, because one of the women Klingons start talking to him, and there's like 2 of them, and like, oh, they're wondering over there to themselves if you could handle them, and Riker sort of pauses, looks a bit uncomfortable for a second, and goes, one or both. And then they all sort of laugh. It's kind of a joke that they all get in on. And
this is probably my favourite scene in the episode.
It's a really good scene. It's just this moment where, because obviously the second officer up until this point was very confrontational with them, but he sees a little bit of himself in him here. And both Riker and him admit that they didn't really imagine the others could laugh. Like, we didn't imagine humans could laugh. We didn't imagine Klingons could laugh. I think we would have
but they're getting on the banter, and it is relatively good-natured banter.
Yeah. It's not too bad. And the scene ends with Riker eating the live thing, so it's almost like, I'm going to prove that I can do this because we've bonded. I don't want to ruin it. So
I think one of my favorite bits in this scene as well was talking, the Klingons talking about their fathers.
Mm.
And and I think it was that the captain talks about how his died gloriously in some battle, and Riker asks the second, and he's like, oh, what about yours? And he's ashamed that he was taken prisoner but not killed, and now he's back on the home planet, just waiting to die, and there's nothing worse. And Riker's like, yeah, but surely he's your father, shouldn't you care? And he's like, no, that's not the Klingon way. And he's like, I can't, we couldn't comprehend doing that. And Riker's like, yeah, well, yesterday I didn't know how to eat this stuff, and then goes for it. And they give him a look. It's like, all right, yeah, fair enough, okay, maybe we can learn from you.
Yeah, no, there's a nice bonding. It was nice to instead of a Klingon ship as well, and get like a proper Klingon, bridge.
I love the how it's just bathed in red light. It's gorgeous.
Everyone's just kind of grimy,
really dingy way. Yeah,
everyone's grimy. And of course, the other side of the plot is that the Benzite, what did I say his name was? Mendon. He's struggling to kind of get into like the rules of the Enterprise because
he's no Riker.
He keeps trying to. Well, he's not replaced Riker. He's because he's
no. I mean, in the sense that Riker picks up what he's supposed to be doing on the Klingon ship.
But he keeps correcting things that there could be improvements to this system, and he corrects a couple of people. He corrects Wesley, who's Wesley's mostly been nice to him. But he does. But at one point he interrupts the captain, and Picard has to kind of like sort of tell him like, oh, it's okay, I'm not mad, like we didn't make it clear what the rules were, with this kind of exchange, blah blah blah. And there's a moment at the end of this where Worf's just like, because he says, oh, you can go with your you can entertain Lieutenant Commander Worf with your concerns, and Worf just goes over there and goes, yes, entertain me. Oh, that's great. And then later on, when he gets out of trouble, after the scene plays out, Worf just comes over and goes, and afterwards I will teach you about Enterprise etiquette. And just walks off. I was like, oh, you're pissing him off so much. It's great.
Yeah.
But the big thing that he does, though, is that when they're making the exchange with the Klingon ship and putting Riker over there, is that he scans the Klingon ship, the Bird of Prey, and finds just a weird anomaly, something on the hull, something strange.
Some sort of life form that's not registering.
It's like a bacteria. It's not like anything big. It's just a simple kind of thing. And then later on, the Enterprise, it's like, oh hey, there's a problem on the hull, something's there, and it ends up being the same stuff. And this is when the Ben says, oh, I detected something similar on the Klingon ship, and Picard's like, oh yes, who did you report it to? He's like, no one. It's like, what? Well, I have not fully finished analyzing it. And when he's prodded to answer it, explain why, he's like, well, that's just not the Benzite way. We don't report anything until we fully analyze it and have a complete report and know all the answers.
More importantly, have a solution. They don't want to go to a superior officer until they have a way to fix the problem.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder like how Benzite ships even operate, because I feel like they'd all be dead. But in situations like this, if he had waited until he'd finished his analysis, like maybe not this one because they did find a solution, but like obviously they get data to pair up with them to finish things off and whatever. So he causes a lot of things. But the more interesting part of this, though, is on the Klingon ship, when they detect that they've got a problem, because once they have realised that the Klingon ship has it as well, Picard's like, okay, let's try and find them and intercept so that we can ward them, because they may not know they've got a problem. Let's try and help them, as Picard would do. But on the Klingon ship, when they discover something's up, they're like, oh, there's a thing eating through our hulls, or luckily it was a part of the ship that can contain the pressure, and it's not a big deal yet, but it's going to keep growing.
Yeah.
And they're like, the only ship we've encountered recently is the Enterprise, and right away Riker's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and then they go, and there was a really intense scan done on this particular area.
Yes. And the beautiful part of this is that we know exactly what that was. That was the Benzite, Mendon, doing this.
But they're like, what sort of beam have you got that caused this?
And Riker's like, none. I can't explain this. I don't know what's going on. And it becomes this thing where they want to attack the Enterprise, so they cloak up, they're getting close, and Riker, he pulls a lot of a sly move here where he's like, oh, get within 40,000, what was the measurement? I can't remember. Was it meters? Feet?
I think it was meters.
The meters? Yeah, whatever. But get within 40,000 because you'll hit them better from that range. The shields won't handle it as well, or whatever he says. But what we find out in the Enterprise, and the opposite side of this, is that that's the safe distance for the teleporter beam. And Riker intentionally shows off his little doohickey in front of the captain, and the captain demands that he turn it in, so he does. So it's the captain who gets beamed across.
There's another great confrontation between them before that as well. In that the captain's like, right, okay, tell me all about the Enterprise's capabilities, its weaknesses, what's going to work best. And Riker just refuses, like, no. I swore an oath of loyalty to you, and I will, if we have to fight the Enterprise and I have to die, I will die with you, no problem. But I'm not betraying my oaths to Starfleet and giving away all their secrets.
And what's funny to me about this is that had the captain be smart enough, he would have realised that the little tip about getting that close to fire their weapons would actually count as him breaking that oath if he really thought about it.
Possibly. But what I did like, at the end of that, the captain's like, do you know what? No, I can respect that. And if you'd told me, I'd have assumed you were a coward and I'd have killed you for breaking your oaths to Starfleet.
Yeah, he assumed he was a traitor. But no, what I like about that is that he could have caught him out in that. He could have caught him that what he was doing was kind of shady, but he didn't. But I like that that's there for us. I like that we can kind of look at that and go, wait, he actually just kind of did technically. I mean, obviously it's not true. He lied about it. But if that was true, he did actually just break his oath to Starfleet if it was. Yeah. And the captain could have maybe noticed that and called him out. He didn't. And of course, by doing this, he takes command of the Bird of Prey, the Klingon ship, and he demands that his orders be followed to lower the cloaks. And the smart thing here is that not only does he demand to be taken seriously as captain, because now the captain's gone and he was the first officer, but when the guy at the control booth is like, but we'll be destroyed, instead of trying to explain why he's doing this or what he's going to do, and because Riker knows that Picard's not coming to attack, he knows that this is going to be a peaceful resolution, but what he does is that he puts it in a way that the Klingons will respect, where he yells at them and says, and if we die, we'll die in the glory of battle, so lower the goddamn cloaks.
And then demands that Picard surrender.
And Picard gets what he's doing. Picard kind of smirks and goes, yes, of course, lower the shields right away.
Do whatever you say.
Yes, we'll surrender. So it makes Riker look very strong in front of the Klingons, and I love that, when the captain does beam back aboard, Riker lets him punch him because he wants this captain to regain his own strength on his ship. And the second officer, Luke from Buffy, picks it up and he's because again, go back to their first encounter, it was very aggressive, confrontational. Now he's helping him up and saying, you really do kind of understand this, because even he understands what he just did. He willingly did this. It
was a sacrificial, take the hit to let the captain appear strong. Because everyone knows he's not really, nothing really changed there. It's just all on appearance, though. And that's important.
Because, of course, what he just did was make him look weak by the whole beaming trick. So he had to kind of reinstate his stature.
He showed that the captain is stronger than Riker. And by doing that, he deserves his position. And that, he's not just trying to usurp the position back. Yeah.
So, no, really neat. And then the final little touch, which I thought was good, is the final shot as the music plays as the ship riding off into space, as it often does, had the Bird of Prey side by side. They were both flying off together. So it was a nice, neat kind of thing. But at the same time, it also played true to what we know Klingons are, because the captain, no matter how much Riker protests and says, no, it must be peaceful, you're jumping, he's like, no, I don't believe it, they're going to attack us, they want to kill us, so we're going to kill them first. Like, it does play true to what we know about Klingons from the past. Yeah. So it again shows how different Worf is, because Worf was raised away from
he's
other Klingons,
totally unique amongst his species.
Yeah, which makes him, because I think I often think of Data as the Spock of this show, but it's kind of split between him and Worf. They both kind of have different parts of the qualities.
They do.
So they've got two Spocks essentially in this show. Although not that they're both.
Not directly, but it kind of makes sense in that we've got a significantly larger principal cast. Because really on original series we just had the three of them. Whereas here we don't know, there were others around, but it was the core trio. Whereas here I would say there's a lot more of them vying for that top slots.
Yeah, I think it is more of an ensemble. I definitely do think Picard, Riker, and Data are the trio. If we're doing a trio again. But I do think the other 4 or 5 of the main cast get a bit more to do than, say, Chekhov and Sulu and Uhura and so on. So
maybe Scotty's probably the only one who could rival in terms of these other ones.
Scotty was definitely fourth. He was definitely the fourth one on the
and
I
think he's the only one that rivals a lot of this group in this one compared to, like you say, Sulu, Chekhov.
But they've all had. I think at this point they've all had an episode at least, if not a couple, focused on them, which is something that we never got an episode focused just on, like, Sulu in the original series. That never happened.
Not really. He maybe had extra moments in some episodes than others.
Yeah, but it was never like whereas we've had episodes that have focused entirely on, like, one of these characters going through something and having an arc, or learning about their backstory.
Last episode was Pulaski's episode, right?
Absolutely,
and she's only been around for 8 episodes.
Even Tasha got a couple. One of which was our Big Death episode, of course, but she got a couple.
It counts.
Yeah. Code of Honor was kind of hers. Oh, dear. But that's been a really solid episode. I have very little to complain about. And despite the fact that we spent 5 minutes talking about that simulator scene, ultimately that's a quibble that's just amusing to me more than anything. It's not an actual complaint.
Yeah. It's not. Biggest complaint is too much Wesley. At the end when he's coming up to the bed, I go, "Oh, hey, it's fine. We'll help you." And it's like, "Why?" It's like, "Because we're friends." I'm like, "You don't even know each other yet. You're not friends."
Okay, friends is a stretch, but I think you're being a bit cynical here. He's clearly trying to extend the hand to show that this is how we treat each other.
He is, but he's being a little shit about it.
I mean, the amount of Wesley in this episode is still much less than most of season 1. This is a fine amount.
It is, but it's more than I've become accustomed to.
Oh well, it's a solid episode. The drama between Riker and the Klingons was great. The growth between them, the mythology building, it was all really solid stuff. And yeah, I'm a happy fellow, and the next one's apparently even better because it's a really famous episode. So
okay, because I think we're both in agreement that this is probably the best episode we've had of the show to date.
I think it is. This is the best episode.
If it manages to top that the following episode, I'll be impressed because I finish this and go, okay, I'll be surprised if that's not in our top 5 come the end of the season.
Yeah, I'll be surprised as well. Well, for the record, that had an 8.1 average on IMDb. The next one has a 9.1.
That is significantly high.
Significant. The Measure of a Man is the title of the episode. It's one that I have heard of before, which is why I know it's a big episode, because I'm like, oh, okay, I've heard of like maybe 3 or 4 episodes.
If you've heard the title, it must be big. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of this. I've heard Best of Both Worlds, or at least something close to that is the Borg episode. Obviously, the finale's All Good Things. Yeah, All Good Things.
I mean, it's the finale, so to be expected.
And there's 1 or 2 other things that I'm sure I've heard of that'll pop up. But anyway, so here's the description on IMDb for the next one. When Data resigns his commission, rather than be dismantled for examination by an inadequately skilled scientist, a formal hearing is convened to determine whether Data is considered property without rights or a sentient being. I can see why this might be good. Money
on Pulaski having to save the day. After being, just a terrible person all season.
I'm going to say it. If that's the case, if Pulaski ends up coming out and is almost a linchpin and convincing everyone that he is a person and not just a machine, or or as it says, a sentient being is maybe more accurate. But you know what I mean? And he should have rights. Then I'll actually credit them for setting that up well. That in the first third of this season, she has been very kind of robot racist the whole time.
I would say there might have been a little one note still with it, but at least the point will have been made. So I'll give them credit overall.
Yeah, well, sure, maybe about one note, but I mean, I don't think anything in the original series laid a foundation like that for it to pay off.
Not.
And so we'll see. So not looking forward to it, but that's the next episode. So this has been a matter of honor. This has been the best episode of Next Generation so far for our money. I mean, obviously we had a couple of strong ones in season 1, but I would say I like this more Conspiracy. I think this did more for me than that.
Yeah, me too.
So looking forward to next week. And the widely considered worst episode of the entire show happens to be the season finale of this season. I discovered that recently.
Okay. That's a real come down after this.
Well, Joe, the funny thing is about it is that it was because there was a writer strike that year, so they had to end the season early. And do you know what this finale is? And I don't know how we're going to do this. We're going to be talking nonsense because it's a clip show. So we're going to have a blast with that episode. There's some wraparound stuff, so there's some stuff to talk about. But...
Sure. A clip show episode after only 2 seasons.
It's because of the writer strike. It wasn't.
No, that's desperate.
Yeah, it's not because. Yeah, it's not because they wanted to do it. It's because we have to just quickly.
But usually when you get a clip show episode, it's after 4 or 5 seasons. Don't get me wrong, I don't enjoy them ever, but at least there's a lot of material to pull from at that point.
Here's the thing: clip shows are a relic of a time when you couldn't really watch episodes any other way than just a weekly. I mean, some people would tape them, sure, but the idea of being able to revisit seasons and really get to know the past seasons is something that came in with DVD and that era. So now clip shows feel like this thing that's just utterly pointless because we're like, no, we remember all these scenes because we just binged the past 2 seasons. Like we know all these scenes.
Yeah.
So Yeah, whereas like you say, usually it's like season 5, and it's been like 4 years since season 1 aired, so maybe your memory's a bit hazy. So
It's a way of like reminding you of a couple
Yeah.
of key moments, and also it tends to be quite cheap, so they like that. But after 2 seasons, there's just not that much to draw on material-wise.
I wonder if that was a big one of the big reasons why they went from like 26 episodes to 22, just in general across the board for TV shows, is because, well, why don't we just save money by having a few less episodes than having to like squeeze a clip show in is one of them.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, the argument for having more episodes, assuming the same cost per episode, is that assuming they're making their money on their advertising, etc., more episodes is a good thing. It's
not the same cost
per episode.
It's not the same cost per episode.
It's not.
They get a budget for the season, then they distribute their budget where they see fit.
They do, yes. But what I'm saying is, if you've got the same, but like let's just say in theory, I'm just going to use a nice round number, 100,000 per season, and you can spread that over 26 or 22. If you can air 26 episodes, you've got 4 extra weeks to get advertising revenue on your show. Traditionally,
100,000.
It was just a nice round figure for the sake of splitting in people's minds.
Okay. But Christ, surely 10 million would have been just as easy to split.
Probably, but it was the first number that came to mind. It wasn't accurate.
Uh-huh. I don't even think in the late 80s they were making a season of Star Trek: The Next Generation for $100,000. Again,
that was not at all the implication I was making.
I'm fairly certain each episode on their own were probably more than $100,000.
Yes, they were. It was just a nice round figure. It was the first round figure that my brain plucked out.
Yes, well, I said about your brain the better. That has been sorry, not Measuring Man. That's next week. That has been a matter of honor, and of course notable because we had another Buffy. Future Buffy star in there.
That's what was notable about
it. That's what was notable. He was playing a Klingon. We'll see if he pops back up. Because I know a lot of actors who do like makeup stuff in Star Trek from Next Gen onwards do come back in different roles. Because, it's they're different aliens, so why not?
I mean, that's true for a lot. Not even just in Star Trek. In general, like makeup actors.
Sure.
They, like you say, in Buffy, he did 2 different heavily makeup roles because they tend to be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty obvious in Buffy. It wasn't something Buffy did a lot though. Whereas I think Star Trek became, because the amount of times that like Tara's mentioned an actor on Star Trek and then said, "Oh yeah, he played like 5 roles like across Next Gen, Deep Space Nine. He played 2 in that show, 2 in that." Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator was brought up. Like, I feel like Star Trek's particularly notorious for it, but. Any type of show that has lots of makeup roles, but whether that be because they've got demons and vampires or aliens or whatever, but. Yeah. Anyway, that has been episode 8 of season 2 of Next Gen. We will see you next week for season episode 9. I'm all for counting Picard season 1 as season 8 of Next Gen. If anyone has any any problems with that. Spiritually speaking.
Of course.
But so that's what you thought of the episode in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can do that a number of ways. You can, of course, rate the audio podcast feed, the Star Trek Viewers Log feed. Gives us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It helps more people find us. You can support us even more so financially over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get some stuff early, including the Star Trek reviews. You also get some bonuses for some of the other shows we do, and that's just for the $1. Obviously, the more you get, the higher tiers, such as get your name at the end of the videos or stuff like that. So go and have a look and see if there's anything that you would like to get. But more importantly, just feel nice that you're keeping all the content coming and ensuring that it does. So, but that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, and to everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.